reckon, on our toes with that one, and you nailed it with 33 seconds to go. Congratulations to you. Ionic, come on up here, sir, and join us on stage. They've got a long life resource in Uganda. It's a rare earth long life resource. It's an adsorption clay hosted deposit. Yes, it's very simple to separate the ionic bonds when it's found that way. The life of the mine is projected to be over 3 decades, correct? Yeah, you've got a low capex. It's scalable with an exploration upside, and you are targeting production in 2024. The person to whom I am addressing my unanswered questions to, who's very focused on his program, is Rare Earths Chairman Trevor Benson. He's here to share the story of Ionic with you. If you'd please make him very welcome.
Thank you. Thanks, Christina. And thank you all for turning out. What a great turnout for the last couple of shifts. So, Ionic Rare Earths. I just want you to remember a couple of things while I go through the presentation, and that is that we are will be producing sustainable sourcing of rare earths, and we are predominantly magnet and heavy rare earths. And we are predominantly looking at the Western demand. Oh, what am I doing here? So I just want to point out a couple of pillars of our organisation. So Ionic Rare Earths vision. We are a mining company of rare earths. We're in development stage. We have a project in Uganda, in Africa. It's under mining license application. We hope that the mining license will be granted in the next couple of months. Fingers crossed. It's a long life ionic adsorption clay, and it's scalable, and there's huge exploration potential. The other thing that you'll note is we want to be a full life cycle rare earth producer, and we want to look at the downstream in refining of rare earths, and we are looking at a number of markets where we will joint venture potentially the rare earth separation plant, either in the US or in Europe. So we are looking at all those locations seriously, and we have in one case a scoping study underway for a rare earth separation plant. The other thing we do, a little bit off centre, but we're in the recycling. We have a recycling of magnets business based in Belfast in Northern Ireland, and that's because a year ago we bought the technology from Queen's University in Belfast. I'll talk about that a bit later on. So a snapshot of the company. The main takeaways there are we've got cash to keep going. We've got a good management team. Tim Harrison, our MD, is chemical engineer, metallurgist, who's driving this process. And with the share price has really tracked the underlying commodities, being the rare earth prices and the basket of rare earth prices. So it's getting very close to the greatest buy of all time in terms of rare earths and stocks exposed to rare earths. So this is a summary of the issues that are ahead of us in terms of the red shows that China dominates the entire supply chain, from mining, processing, through to metals, magnets, and even recycling. And there is obviously a trend that the Western world is diversifying their supply lines and will throw incredibly huge amounts of money as we've all read, at solving the problem. So we can't get away from the fact that there are geopolitical forces that are prevalent today. And we've seen news in the US that they're going to throw $380 billion at what they have classified as critical minerals and in securing sustainable, traceable supply of critical minerals, and rare earths is one of them. Recently, you would have also read that Europe has just produced the European Critical Raw Material Act, and that's really put fired up the EU in also following suit to make sure they have sufficient critical minerals in their supply chain, and gone further to suggest that they want certain percentages diversified, sources diversified around the globe. We want to be part of this solution. So we are going to be a producer of rare earths from Uganda. We're going to be in the refining once we decide on a joint venture and a partner, and we will be in the recycling of rare earth oxides from spent magnets. So we have a circular economy, and we want to be capable of being an alternative supplier to the Western industries. So when we look at Makuutu, the name of our Ugandan rare earth deposit, it is enormous. It's 37 kilometres long. It's 500 million tonnes. It's simple mining. It's 3 metres under the surface down to 30 metres, and it's held in an ionic clay. So that's our pillar. That's our main focus. Then we are looking at the refining and going downstream, and we want to be in part of the chain of being able to supply, separate rare earth molecules into downstream industries and into alloy metals and magnet manufacturers. We are pretty much known globally now for our value of our basket, and we talk about basket in what rare earth composition our product has. And as I said before, we are very heavily into the magnet and heavy rare earths. About 71% of our entire product is heavy rare earths and magnets. And we have a sustainable model of not only ESG-driven company, but recycling company, and the ability to recycle old magnets and produce oxides. So the most recent news is we've just completed our stage 1 definitive feasibility study. The main takeaways from that study, extensive study, is the stage 1, which covers the central license, is 35 years mine life. It has only $120 million of capital expenditure to get it into production. So very low cost production. We have no radionuclides, so we don't need cracking plants. We produce a mineral, a mixed rare earth carbonate, and we ship that to separation plant. So we understand from being talking to governments and to end users that this product is highly sought after, because the world is short of heavy rare earths, and that's where the real value lies in our basket. So we really want to be in the entire value chain, but you can see from that slide that that we have this massive deposit in Makutu in Uganda, and I'll talk a little bit about Uganda because it's not widely known as a jurisdiction, mining jurisdiction. Because it's an ionic absorption clay, it's a very simple operation, heap leach operation, and it's really an earth moving exercise. And if you know anything about rare earths, it's all about the dealing with the clays and the recovery of the rare earths. And in Uganda, we are very fortunate to have infrastructure that is pretty compelling in terms of the hydroelectric power that we have, 5 cents per kilowatt hour. We have highway road access, a lot of water. We're in the south of Uganda, and the road is through to Kenya, and we'll ship out through Mombasa. And we also have a great story in terms of the exploration potential beyond the central license and the 35-year mine life that we have there. So a little bit about Uganda, because it's not widely known about. Total's Lake Albert project is probably the biggest project in Uganda in the pipeline. As you can see from that map, the orange is our project. We're about an hour east of Jinja. Jinja is where we have an office with 50 people, and it is also the source of the Nile on Lake Victoria. So we fly into Entebbe, and there's a very good toll road through the bottom of the country. So very stable, politically it's very stable and very investment friendly. They've just upgraded their Mining Act, and like all African countries, and we're working with the government at the moment to, we've submitted our mining license application, and we hope to have that, as I said, in the next couple of months. So this is a massive resource. This is 500 million tonnes, and you can see there that the stage 1 definitive feasibility study is just over the red hatched area, and that's where our mining license, that's the mining license area, and you can see that we have within that tenement we have 259 million tonnes. And as you'll know from ionic clays, all the weathering has been done, and so the processing is easy. It's the recoveries that is and the chemical process. Basically, you are adding ammonium sulfate, and we are dropping the clays out through heap leach operation, the rare earths out through the heap leach operation. So there's a lot of, that's 37 kilometres long in total, the entire area, and we're only looking at the small area of red in the middle. So in terms of ESG, which really is the underlying factors within our company, we have a great environmental story. We've got our environmental certificate from the Ugandan government, but we have a great story in that basically the process is producing fertiliser, and we're fertilising the soil we've taken out and putting it back, and proving it to be a great increase in the quality of the soil. So it's a great rehabilitation story. In terms of social, we have enormous engagement from the local communities. We work in the local community within the kingdom and within obviously the government of Uganda, and right down to stakeholders on the ground. We've had up to 3,800 people turn up to various meetings, and they were very supportive of this operation. Today, we have to be recorded in terms of our ESG performance, and many of you will know of Digby, who are rated by the World Bank, and IFC. So they give us a rating and tell us how we can get to AAA. Lastly, we have in Northern Ireland a magnet recycling business, where basically we take the spent magnets. We have about 40 tonnes of them at the moment, and we're currently commissioning the plant, and we'll be producing oxides hopefully in June, July this year. So it's an interesting dynamic. We're getting a lot of traction. It's through this process, which we bought the technology from Queen's University in Belfast. We're getting a lot of traction, and obviously we produce individual oxides, and it can go back into new permanent magnets, but it actually gets us into the supply chain. So there's our facility in Belfast. It's being commissioned, upscaled at the moment, and as I said, we'll be hopefully producing oxides middle of the year, but it does get us early into this supply chain and speaking to end users. So the value proposition with Ionic rare earths is rare earth prices have actually halved in the last year. They must be getting very close to the bottom. So I think it's a fantastic opportunity to invest into rare earths, and obviously leverage through Ionic. So we've got a huge resource. We've got a long mine life. And we've got the we're looking at the separation plant, and we're looking at the recycling. And lastly, one of these slides from very large global investment banks sees us at the bottom, where they call it the Valley of Death. That's probably where we are. But once we get into production, I think you'll see us outperform. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Trevor Benson. There we go. That is our second